Now, panel number 6 is on social entrepreneurship and social economic development, safety nets programs for sustainable social economic development. The moderator is Dr. Stephen Jaramba, our own Dr. Stephen Jaramba, from one of the 8 departments, and his department is Applied Economics. Dr. Jaramba specializes in public finance, international economics, and many other areas, but that is his strength. His area of research interest is in international finance, public policy, macroeconomic policy effects, and similar. So we want to welcome Dr. Stephen Jaramba to make use of his 40 minutes. Kindly, Dr. Jaramba, let our presenters make or highlight the key aspects, and then we can be able to continue interacting through the chat box. So welcome, my brother, Dr. Stephen Jaramba, to make use of your 40 minutes for panel number 6 discussion. Dr. Jaramba.
Thank you again for the opportunity. I want to welcome all of you for the panel 6 presentation. The panel discussion is on social entrepreneurship and socio-economic development and safety net programs for sustainable socio-economic development. I'll be moderating the session. My name is Dr. Stephen Jaramba, as the chairman has introduced, from the Department of Applied Economics. In this panel, we have the rapporteurs who are Dr. Rhoda Manyansa and Dr. Duncan Shiradura. We have a number of presenters, 5 in number. The first one, which is Ms. Rhea Sila, I understand she will not be making to present. She's traveling, and the situation does not allow her to present. Now, the others we have Ms. Margaret Mudeu. I hope you can kindly maybe confirm that you are here with us. Ms. Margaret Mudeu. From that is CEO Elevate SMEs Limited. Kindly confirm your presence. The other one, the third presenter on the program is Mr. Enoch Nyakudi. Kindly, if you can confirm your presence here. Enoch Nyakudi. Our third presenter, that is Mr. Richard Obinga. Mr. Richard Obinga, kindly, if you can confirm your presence. You can either show by a hand or confirm on the chat box, kindly. I have not received any confirmation from Ms. Margaret Model, Mr. Martin Waithaka, Mr. Enoch Nyakudi, and Mr. Richard Obiga. Sorry, Mr. Richard Obiga. Yes, thank you, Ms. Margaret Model and Martin Waithaka. Your presence is confirmed. Thank you. So we'll be waiting for Mr. Richard Obiga and Mr. Enoch Nyakudi to confirm. We will start our presentation, and We will have about 10 minutes for each of our presenters. We also have with us, we have Martin Waithaka. Mr. Martin Waithaka, if you can, kindly. You can check whether your mic is working.
Yeah, please confirm you can hear me.
Yeah, thank you. I can hear you. Thank you, Waithaka. So an introduction for Mr. Martin Waithaka. He's the CEO Empower and Serve Kenya. So Martin holds a master's degree in community resources, community resource management from Kenyatta University, and an executive certificate in sustainability leadership from the Hurricane Island Center for Science and Leadership in USA. He is also a certified program manager's professional with over 10 years of experience conceptualizing, managing, and executing poverty alleviation programs while promoting self-reliance. His concentration is designing, implementing, and evaluating initiatives that address the root causes of poverty, empower marginalized communities, and create sustainability. He is the founder and executive director of Empower and Serve Kenya, a youth-centered organization dedicated to unlocking the potential of young individuals through skills development and running innovative social enterprises. So throughout his career, Martin has provided technical leadership in program implementations, creating measurable impact through human-centered design approaches in programs for the disadvantaged, especially the youth, women, and displaced population. Martin is a scholar and, of course, a community worker, and he has achieved a lot. So we want to welcome Martin, that you may present to us. Welcome, Martin.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Jaramba, for the introduction. And of course, great appreciation to each one of us who have been here. I think just sitting around the room, you can always feel the wealth of information that is flowing. And I totally appreciate this opportunity also to be able to have a moment to share some reflection on what I do. And again, share some lessons based on the work that I do. And just to build up from the introduction that has just been shared, is that I'm a social entrepreneur, I would say by design. And I have been able to engage in social entrepreneurship from the time I cleared my O-level. And I'll be sharing that reflection in one of the slides over here. But again, in my presentation, I'll be sharing a little bit of a theoretical or more of a practical, experiential definition of what social entrepreneurship, based on our model of programming, what it really means to me or to us in our programming at Empower and Serve Kenya. And again, drawing a bit of some of the work that we have done, growing into the field of social entrepreneurship, and drawing some lessons, maybe and recommendations, which are not scientific. And I think I would give that caveat, noting that we have a lot of researchers here and our learned fellows. And so I'll be diving into looking into social entrepreneurship as a concept. And most of the reference that I would have here is more experiential, but also a bit of reference from Ashoka, who are key leaders in the space of social entrepreneurship. And one thing first to note is that social entrepreneurship is a concept that has been there for many years. And of course, the popularity of social entrepreneurship has been growing over time. And as years go by, the concepts gets clearer. And however, we really don't have like a clear definition, like a one-stop definition to say, this is the definition of social entrepreneurship. But overall, there is a general agreement that a social enterprise promotes positive socio-cultural, environmental, and also economic sustainability. There is key focus on change. There is key focus on improvement. And when you talk about what sets aside a social enterprise from a normal or a mainstream enterprise, largely is the motivation, and largely is about what are we concerned more as social entrepreneurs. We have an intersection between the people, the globe, or the planet, and the profit, which is this concept we talk about sustainability. And where all these put together, what sets aside a social enterprise to a great extent is the motivation. The motivation of a social entrepreneur. A social entrepreneur is more of a change agent, is a change maker, is a driver of change. And one of the pointer that sets aside a social entrepreneur is identifying systemic issues or challenges that have been held over time, and they have been existing within our communities, but then they try to figure out how do we solve this. Social entrepreneurs are quite disturbed by some of the concerns that appears to be quite normal. And that's one of the pointer in terms of setting aside a social entrepreneur from the mainstream entrepreneur. So this person is concerned about the environment, the cultural issues that are facing communities, that are facing the people. And in some people, when you talk about the issue of garbage, for example, in our neighborhood, waste of garbage within our neighborhood, to some people it's not a bother. But for a social entrepreneur, the concern would be, how can I solve this concern of garbage within my neighborhood, but again, more sustainably? One of the concepts that I buy quite a bit is about not only thinking of a social enterprise as a social business, but about system adjustment or system improvement. And that is one of the areas that we'll be emphasizing today, that is not about starting. I know in our previous presentation, I was asking about the startups and why we have a high mortality rate of startups. And of course, for social enterprises, they even die further. When it is 75% for normal enterprises, for social enterprises, it goes up to 90% dying. And that is one of the big concerns when it comes to modeling, support, and sustainability of social enterprises. So again, we have some key principles that again drive social enterprise as a concept or even as a practice. It's about problem solving. The social entrepreneurs really need to be married to the challenges that they are solving. We already heard about the presentation that was done by Stati just a while ago about issues to do with political issues and concerns. And an entrepreneur comes in to think about how do we solve this problem. For a social entrepreneur, the bigger concern is about how can I solve this problem? But then again, how do I enhance sustainability? And then again, how do I engage the people that are actually facing these challenges to be able to address this challenge more sustainably? So participation becomes a key principle. And again, I already talked about systems change. It's about adjustment. It's about collaboration with policies. It's about alignment with the national and also the global goals, like the Sustainable Development Goals. So I'll take a bit of a moment to speak a little bit about the boy from the village. And the boy from the village defines me. Having come from a village where we didn't have power, We didn't have connectivity. We were isolated. And when I was in my primary school going to high school, I was not able to enjoy the benefits of computers. I was not able to enjoy. I remember we only had one phone that was accessed in one of the neighbors who was doing very well at that time. However, we didn't even have somebody to call. And I want us to just envision that village. And now this again, try to draw an inspiration, how my journey grew into a social entrepreneur. So while that was the circumstance that I was born in, it meant I was digitally disconnected. I was, again, also socially disconnected, technically disconnected. But then that challenge by itself drew a motivation within me to start thinking about the critical challenges that I myself was facing at that time. And over time, I came to realize the people that we were living with were really experiencing a digital disconnection. So when I got a grade to go to campus, I was admitted at Kenyatta University. My mom told me, I hear in the university, you have to get a laptop for you to do your assignment. And now that you have not worked with a computer, I really need to take you in one of the cities to go and take a course and be able to be digital literate. And that is what happened. And when I came to a place called Thika, I did the computer packages. And one of the things that grew within me was a desire to improve the situation, because I imagined if this is myself having earned the digital skills, the literacy that I gained, how many more young people, how many more community members have not accessed such digital literacy? How many people have been disconnected from the world? And that drew me to set up a digital center in my village, the first digital center that I set up in 2007, before I joined Kenyatta University. I didn't know that time that is social entrepreneurship anyway, because we could charge a small fee to make sure that the center would keep running. And we were able to train up to thousands and thousands of young people from my community. To cut the story short, the same motivation grew. Being in class, learning about communities, community resource management, understanding community challenges over years, I got a motivation to even grow into this area. And by the time I cleared my 4th year, this is where I started an organization, Empower and Serve Kenya, focusing on digital skilling and social entrepreneurship, especially for the last mile communities in the urban informal settlements and the rural areas, specifically Kajiado and Narok. That is where we have more operations. So that has again grown into setting up innovation hubs in Kajiado. And we also connected this ecosystem by setting up another innovation hub in Nairobi. And why did we do that? Is again, issues to do with system change. For systems to improve, again, we have to focus on how do we align with the already existing digital economy. Focusing on Nairobi, the Silicon Savannah, known as a well-mature innovation ecosystem, we are working, everyone who you would connect to globally would tell you, Kenya, everyone is digital literate. We know it's a house of innovation, it's the Silicon Savannah. But then we need to take that to the grassroots. We need to take that to the rural communities. We need to reach out to the grassroots. And that's why we modeled a project we call a DigiLab. Again, focusing on setting up digital literacy and entrepreneurship hubs at the grassroots level. And this is again maturing up to be more sustainable, to be more of a system change, becoming an innovation village that we are working on in Kajiado. And that is my journey of a social entrepreneur. What lessons have we drawn? And this will be taking me to the close of my talk. What lessons have I personally taken through my journey as a social entrepreneur? One thing that I've picked up is that when we have people, young people, like currently we have a high level of unemployment, issues facing us. Recently we had the floods. We have hunger. We have all these challenges as have been highlighted. Lived experience, people who are actually experiencing these challenges have actually an upper hand when it comes to coming up with practical or pragmatic and scalable, sustainable social enterprises. And one of the challenges that we have faced mostly, our innovation ecosystem, having been so centralized within the urban. And that's why we have upcoming policies like now the Association of Countrywide Hubs, promoting establishment of local hubs, because the more we discuss the challenges people are facing at the grassroots level, the more we are able to come up with more practical and more scalable solutions that will be able to be replicated, that will be able to help other people to learn. So there should be that focus on the solution. There should be that focus on the impact that a social enterprise that is going to lead in these communities. And that is one of the lessons that we have been able to pick. However, there has been a lot of emphasis on the technical solutions, sometimes letting down the impact, which is actually very important when it comes to social enterprise success. Then again, there should be that emphasis on impact, because a social enterprise leader has actually been driven by a certain challenge. Sometimes when it comes to, for example, pitching, when we are having these innovation challenges, sometimes we really push social entrepreneurs to really pitch their solution while their impact remains untouched. And so this competition is one of the areas that we feel and we have identified in our hubs is actually leading to more social enterprises becoming unsuccessful. So there is need to evaluate that. And I know I've already done another recommendation in the same front, because we want social enterprises to be successful venture, promoting employment for these young innovators, the change makers, but then again promoting economic self-reliance within households and communities that these people are coming from. The focus again should be on system change, where we talk about alignment. If we reference the most successful social enterprises in history, the success that comes for a social enterprise actually to become a global winner is about collaborating and being aligned and influencing, advocating, and recommending change on some of the status quo, some of the things that have been taken to be normal, and doing actual recommendations. So it's not about social enterprise, me as an individual, as an entrepreneur, growing and having a big name, but being able to address a system concern, whether it is in education, in agriculture, in environment. It's about behavior change. It's about working with the people you are programming for them to be able to improve, for them to be able to change. It's about addressing the broken silos within our ecosystem when we talk about partnership, academia, local communities, the county government, the private sector. How do we work together to address systemic concerns? So a social enterprise advocate would be able to recommend system change as opposed to specific growth of an individual or an individual enterprise. There is also need to reevaluate our incubation and our accelerator programs to be able to cater for the current needs, especially for the social enterprise. There is a big inclination when it comes to tech, the fintech, and those popular kind of enterprises that have a lot of funding in the current setup. However, we realize that community challenges that are actually facing people, some of them are quite simple. They just need system adjustment, behavior change, behavior improvement, and we realize a great social impact. So social entrepreneurs also should also be able to collaborate as opposed to being competitive. It's also a lesson when it comes to social entrepreneurs that are successful, it's about how much are we able to collaborate with other stakeholders as opposed to who are actually competing with. Other than asking who are our competitors, we ask who are actually our collaborators. Because where there is collaboration, we are able to achieve more impact, we are able to multiply, we are able to replicate, we are able to take these lessons far and wide from local to the global concept. So those are the lessons we have picked. And so what are we doing to be able to address the system change? What are we doing to be able to make our programming even more sustainable? So we are taking action. We are currently consolidating our innovation ecosystem. We already acquired a piece of land in a place called Kajiado, for them that are not from Nairobi. We are setting up one of the biggest sustainable eco-village. Again, the boy from the village. It's about improving the village ecosystems. It's about connecting communities. It's building haven ecosystems and improving the systems, aligning programming of what is actually the government priority when it comes to digital skills, vocational skilling, innovation, and entrepreneurship. And this is what we are doing in the next 5 years. You can join us. We'll be glad to take action. Thank you. We can connect through the shared contacts on this slide. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Martin, for such an elaborate presentation. You've given us a good guide, especially how do you become an entrepreneurship. You have to have motivation. From your lessons, of course, we are learning that the major drive will be the focus on the solutions and the good recommendations that you have given. Thank you so much, Martin. And again, I want to remind the participants, for your questions, kindly put them on the chat, and they will, Martin will receive them once we are done with the presentations. So we want then to go to question and answer session. From the chat, I want to request Dr. Shiradura, if you can kindly, whether you can read for us the questions.
Hello.
Yes, welcome, Doctor.
I hope I'm audible.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much, Mr. Waithaka. Thank you so much, Mrs. Margaret Modeu, for the wonderful presentations. We will go straight to the questions, and we will use the criteria of first come, first service, first serve, because of the time constraints. Just sampling a few to Martin Waithaka. There's a question from Irene Awar, and the question goes, the question is on motivation, the lived experiences that pushes an individual to start social enterprise. How then do you ensure ownership among beneficiaries if the push came from one individual? The second question, again to Mr. Martin Irungu. Please shed more light on Eco Village you are setting up. Thank you for a great presentation. That is the comment from the participant who has asked that question. Maybe Martin can start with those two as we wait for more questions for Margaret.
All right, thank you so much, and thanks the delegates here for the wonderful question. I will start with the one for Dr. Irene about the challenge, maybe the involvement and lived experience. One thing that is good and clear is, for example, if we reference one of the successful social enterprise that was the eco toilet. It was running here. It was running in Nairobi, and of course, the person who came up with the solution is about an experience they had, a big challenge with accessing facilities when you were in town. So then again, the simple motivation that comes from a social entrepreneur comes along with being a change maker. It's about taking leadership. It's the same way people get motivated to run for a certain position, while others, they just feel they just want to vote. It's about how the leader or the change maker in this context, who is the social entrepreneur or the social enterprise leader, takes it up. The challenge, for example, affecting a certain group, it's alcoholism, could be a lived experience by one person, or they have a friend, or they have a brother who was actually affected by this vice. However, it's about, for community uptake, it's about participation, it's about involvement, it's about critical needs assessment, it's about system or processing and making sure that all the stakeholders play a big part. That is one of the parts that would actually justify or maybe give a value in terms of a success for a social enterprise. Another pointer is you may not have a lived experience, or you may not be a victim, but again, when it comes to learning about that issue, then you need to take time to understand the critical pain points. You will need to understand the people. You will need to have a lot of engagement. When looking at it, for example, from academic parts, where you really want to do enough research, you want to collect enough data, you want to have enough input from the beneficiaries. And again, not only just in terms of what are the intended solutions, but again, even in terms of their participation in the implementation of the social enterprise. The other question regarding the Innovation Hub, I mentioned this is our flagship project as an organization. As a social enterprise, we are working on bringing together some of the smaller hubs that we have been working around. One of the challenges that we have been addressing, especially in Kajiado, is actually the cultural challenges that affects especially young women. One thing that we picked up is, as much as we have open centers in Kitengela, in Kajiado town, access remains a challenge. Yeah. Infrastructural, cultural, and all those physical barriers that still affect them. And then again, we also focusing on creating a field learning, an experiential learning platform on sustainability. So then it's an innovation hub like what we are already running, but then now this becomes a community-driven innovation center in form of an eco-village, which is a totally unique concept driven by the people that brings together not only the economic pillar, it also brings the environment, which is a key issue affecting the ASAL communities, addressing regeneration on environment, but then also connectivity, bridging the gap in terms of technology, infrastructure, and taking this connectivity to the community. And this again becomes a model that can be replicated, not only here in Kenya, but across Africa. And that's how we are modeling it. And we welcome, I will be sharing more, maybe a link on the chat box for anyone to see how the village is modeled. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Bwana Waithaka, for that wonderful insight. There is a question here.